Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Crystal and this is my social thread. So this is my September makes vlog where I'll be going through everything I have made in the month of September. So it's a lovely roundup for everybody. For those of you that do follow me regularly, this will be a bit of a repetition because you have obviously seen what I have been making throughout the month of September. But for those of you that don't follow me, and I know I do get quite a lot of viewers that watch my roundup vlogs regularly, but not necessarily my other vlogs. So this will be a nice summary of everything that I have been up to all in one vlog for you. Just to say, for those that don't already subscribe, if you could kindly like and subscribe, it really does mean a lot, and it means that my vlogs get advertised or shown to a lot more viewers on YouTube, which is great, and every little helps. So thank you if you do subscribe, and please subscribe if you don't. Just to say also, my channel is all about sewing, dressmaking, my journey into doing such. I love making dresses and skirts and blouses, things for my children as well. So on my vlog you'll find roundup vlogs for everything I've made for that month. You'll also find plans vlogs, so my plans for the following month. I also do Friday sews, either a weekly or fortnightly roundup of everything that I have been up to sewing wise during the month. What else do I do? Oh, I do interviews as well with fellow sewing vloggers, fabric shop owners, that sort of thing. That's on there. And also I do quite a few unboxings. I subscribe to the Sew Hayley Jane luxury box, so I do an unboxing for her every month. I also subscribe to the Think Pink box from Beyond the Pink Door, Andrea and Keris from Beyond the Pink Door, so I subscribe to their box. I'm also a brand ambassador for Little Miss So and So, and I subscribe to their All Set to Sew So Luxurious kits, and also their Patchwork and Quilting Club, so two unboxing vlogs for them. And last but not least, no, that's all I subscribe to, I think. So all of that sewing goodness is on my channel. If you do fancy having a look around before you leave, that would be much appreciated. Okay, so going forward, what have I been making in the month of September? So first and foremost, what I'm wearing, I am wearing the Tilly and the Buttons Lyra in a green, what is this called? A green viscose linen. Oh, sorry, it's a bit dirty there. A green viscose linen from Pound Fabrics. It's like a khaki green viscose linen from Pound Fabrics, and the buttons are just some flat pearl shank buttons from, I believe, Minerva Crafts or eBay. This particular fabric has got a bit of stretch to it, and I didn't think the stretch would cause any problems, although I'll tell you later on that it did kind of cause a problem. So but it was easily rectified. The Tilly and the Buttons Lyra pattern is one of my favorites, and it's this pattern here, and the line drawings are as such. So you can do a short sleeve version with a single tiered skirt, or with the long sleeves and the elasticated cuffs. Then you can do the version with a two-tier skirt, short sleeve, long sleeve, elasticated cuffs, and a drawstring at the waist. It has bust darts and the skirts are gathered. It has a full button placket and a stand-up collar with a collar stand. So Tilly and the Buttons, obviously very well known for their pattern drafting, for their pattern instructions. Very, very good, colourful instructions, easy to follow, step by step. They take you through every single step. This particular pattern comes in a size 1, which is a UK 6, bust of 30 inches, waist of 24 inches, all the way up to a UK 24, which is their size 10, which is a bust of 48 inches, waist of 42 inches. Now, I know all of Tilly's current new patterns that are being released now go all the way up to a size 32, and the Lyra, the older patterns that hadn't had the that didn't have the extended size range now do have the extended size range, so they all go up from a up to a size 32, UK size 32. One of my favorite patterns. I think I have made 6, maybe even 8 of these, all different variations. I've made the short sleeve variations quite a few times, and this one's the long sleeve. So I went for the elasticated cuffs here and the two-tier skirt with a drawstring. I'll pop up some photos, and then I'll just get my book here and I'll let you know sort of my thoughts or things that I've changed. This isn't the Indigo. What is this? This is the Lyra. Okay, so what I normally do with this, for this particular pattern, only this pattern for Tilly, so only in the Lyra, I need to make a forward shoulder adjustment. And in terms of doing that, I follow the tutorial from So Essential on YouTube. Just type in So Essential, or even just type in forward shoulder adjustment, and lots of different tutorials will pop up there. I follow the So Essential one because I just thought that was easy, and it was one that I recognized, as in I could recognize the company, and it's fairly easy to do. And the bodice that I have adjusted for this Lyra, I have just kept, and I use that same bodice piece all the time, because I found that, I think it was Rachel from Stitched Up mentioned that the shoulder seam, this is called the shoulder seam, doesn't lie central to your shoulder. Mine was kind of slipping sort of half an inch behind my shoulder, and when she mentioned that, I looked at my patterns and I thought, actually, the dresses that I have made in the past do look like that. So then I did my forward shoulder adjustment by, I think, about an inch, and now it's a perfect fit for me on the shoulders. Oh yes, and what I was saying about the stretch in the viscose linen, I didn't think it would cause any problems, so I have made this dress before, as I say, and I pretty much can do this dress without looking at the instructions, apart from the collar. The collar, I still need to look at the instructions, because you have an under collar and a top collar, an inner collar stand and an outer collar stand, and that can be quite confusing as to what goes where. So I still follow the instructions for the collar, but everything else I just do from memory. And so I'd made the dress really quickly. I think it took me about 2 evenings, and I was so excited to try it on. And I tried it on, and this shoulder, where the shoulder meets the sleeve, it was down here. So as you can see up here, it should sit on the corner of your shoulder. I don't know what that term is, but it should sit here on your shoulder. And when I'd first made it, it was a good inch below. And I was really a bit disappointed because, as I say, I've made these before and I've never had that problem. And the only thing I could think of was because there was some stretch in the fabric. Let me see if I can show you the stretch on the skirt. So this is the skirt. I mean, it has got a bit of stretch. I mean, quite a lot of stretch. So that was probably the reason why maybe that had stretched out as I was sewing. I'm not sure. So anyway, what I decided to do is I figured out that it was about an inch overhanging, and I did it sort of a lazy naughty way. I basically went inside, I turned it inside out, and where the arm cyc was, I literally just did a basting stitch an inch closer to, so I took an inch off the sleeve, if that makes sense. So I did a basting stitch sort of this side here, and I tried it on and it was perfect. So then I cut off the overlocking stitching and the machine stitching, and then I just reattached them together, and then that turned out perfectly fine. The Lyra dress, I love the collar. I think it's quite a smart feature in a dress. I love the gathers at the sleeves. I love the sort of bishop sleeves that we have there, and I love the fact that you can hack it. You can wear it with a belt, you can wear it with the ties, the tiers of the skirt. You can you know, change how the depth of the tiers, so you can have 3 narrow tiers, or you can have 1 long tier or 2 medium tiers. So you can hack this dress in so many ways and get so many looks out of it. And I think it's great. So the other thing that I wanted to do actually with this dress is perhaps take the collar off and have like a Peter Pan collar, which I'm going to try and draft myself. So this collar would have to come off and the collar stand would have to come off. So you'd basically just have like a crew neck with a button here, and then I would need to draft the Peter Pan collar and do a facing. So I don't know if that's within my skill set of drafting my own collars, but if I do it, of course I will show you the end result and whether or not it was successful. So there you go, that's the first dress that I've made this month. The second dress I made, let me show you. Okay, the second dress I made wasn't technically made in September. So this was my blogger project for Jenny Stitches Fabrics, who I am a brand ambassador for, and I did this dress in August, but then I can only reveal the dress once the blog is up on Jenny's website, and that normally comes out sort of a month after I've submitted the project. So therefore I include that in that particular month's it just makes things easier. So my blogger project for Jenny was the Sew Over It Eve dress. So this is their new packaging now, or their new photographs. They used to have the vintage looking photos for their old patterns. So all it is a lovely wrap dress for woven fabrics. And the variations you can do, this is like a fluted sleeve and then a long sleeve. Obviously the sleeves you can adjust to make short, elbow length as you please. It's a full wrap. It has a yoke which gathers here, and you have the choice between a I think it's a 3/4. No, sorry, this is a panelled skirt. So these are in panels, and you have the high-low hem here, and this is sort of more of a straight skirt with the level hem. So this this pattern goes from a size 6, which is a bust of 31, waist of 24, all the way up to a size 20, which is a bust of 45 and waist of 38. And I do also know that Sew Over It have extended all of their new patterns to an extended size range, and I believe their old patterns are in the process of being extended as well. Sorry, just to say, for the Lyra, I did a size 5 in Tilly. So for this one, I did a size 12 in the Eve dress. I have made this before several times, and I love the I love how it fits, and the fabric I chose from Jenny Stitches was a beautiful viscose crepe, part of the Fabric Godmother's own collection, and I'll show you her here. I think this is called Pinky. It's just beautiful. So it's got lovely fluidy drape. The color is just so summery. It's sort of like a salmony baby pink mix, and you've got sort of these red flowers and vibrant greens. Very flowy, very suitable for the Eve. When I first saw this fabric, it actually reminded me of the sample that Lisa Comfort has for her Eve dress on her website, although hers is white with pink flowers, and I just thought that was the perfect fabric for this. There you go. So there's the yoke with the gathered sleeves, gathered yoke, and then I went for the fluted sleeve variation here, and instead of hemming it, I've just used my overlocker to do the I think it's called a three thread narrow hem, and I did the same for the bottom of the dress. And I went for the high-low hem. It's a full wrap, and that's the back of it. And I'll pop up some photos of me wearing it. And I'll look at my notes as well. So as I say, I have made this before. Instructions are fairly straightforward. Their instruction booklets aren't as pretty or colourful as the Tilly and the Buttons instructions, but they are comprehensive enough, I think. So what I did differently is that the back bodice comes in two, so it's cut. You do two separate pieces. So there's a centre back seam, which I don't think is necessary, because why would you put a centre back seam in there? And also with the back seam, you would then need to try and pattern match if you really wanted to, and I didn't want to bother doing that. So what I did instead is I omitted the seam allowance, and I cut the back piece on the fold, so it's just one piece. And the other thing I did, so for the neckline, you use stay tape that you sew on the inside, and then you fold it over to make your hem. Now I only used I think it's I only used a 1/2 centimetre stay tape, and I think in hindsight a 1 centimetre one would have given a thicker neckline. And it would just have a nicer finish, I think. But I mean, it doesn't detract from the dress itself. Nobody would notice that if you were wearing it. It's not sort of glaringly obvious. And the main thing was, so when you put the stay tape goes all the way around the bodice, so all the way up here, all the way around the neck, and all the way around the other half as well. And it gives you a measurement of how long this stay tape should be. So you're supposed to cut it out, then you're supposed to ease it onto the neckline, sew it down, fold it over, sew over it again, sew over it again. And I did that, and for some reason my neckline must have stretched out, because I remember from my previous makes, this has happened as well, from my previous makes where I've cut it at the required length, I found out that I was short by quite a lot, like 2 to 3 inches. And that was really annoying, because I'd already sewn it down And then by the time I got to the end, then that's when I realized I didn't have enough. So what I did this time, I didn't cut it off at the required length. I just left it on the roll of the stay tape, and I did my attached it all the way around the neckline, and then I measured it again, and I saw that I had actually needed an extra 3 inches of stay tape, which, I mean, I could have tried to ease it in, but it was quite slippery fabric, and I just couldn't basically ease. I mean, 3 inches is a lot to ease in, I think. And what I did, I just left it as that, and actually when I tried it on, it was actually a lovely fit. I'll post up some photos for you. So I love how the fabric is drapey and flowy. I think it's a very romantic dress, a lovely spring summer dress. So it's really, really nice. And I think that fabric wise, it should be a drapey fabric if you want these sleeves. Perhaps if you wanted the longer sleeves, then maybe a cotton lawn would work as well. But really sort of a viscose or a crepe is what would work best. And my blog project for Jenny, my actual blog, I said that, you know, it was a perfect fit despite the neckline stretching out. But then when I wore it for a day, I realized that it was actually quite loose. So the V-neck wrap, I had to keep tucking it in at the waist because it was gaping a bit. And I think because obviously I had stretched out three inches of neckline. So I think the way to rectify that is, well, the proper way to rectify it is, I suppose, to undo the waist seam here, get rid of some of this fabric here, and kind of enclose it that way. The easy, lazy way would be just to put a couple of gathers in here, especially if it's the side that goes under the wrap, because you won't see that part anyway. And I think that's what I will do, although it's not a plan for me to do now because it's autumn winter and I probably won't be wearing that until next year anyway. So I'll leave that in my work in progress, I suppose, or like fixing pile. So that's that dress. That's a Sew Over It Eve dress. The next dress that I made, which wasn't actually on my plans list, it was just a bit of an upcycle. So I made the Anna Allen, I keep getting confused with this, the Anthea Blouse by Anna Allen. I'll pop up a picture of what it used to look like. So I made it as a blouse, and I loved it. I loved the construction of it. It just went together so beautifully. Like, do try this pattern. I know it's been very popular over the past sort of 6 months or so, and there's a reason why, because it looks beautiful, instructions are beautiful, and the pattern just comes together perfectly. Like, there are no, you know, going off the seam, or like, you know, that facing won't fit that, or that the bias binding is too short or too long. It was just so beautifully done. Instructions wise was so beautifully done. But I found that I wasn't wearing the blouse much because, well, at all. I only wore it for photographs because I find that I'm at this point in my sewing journey now where I like to wear mostly me-mades, and with the blouse I needed to pair it with some bottoms, and I don't really have many me-made bottoms, so then I wasn't wearing it. And so what I thought was, you know what, I'm going to add a skirt to it and it'll be a dress and I'll wear it more often. And so let me show you her. Look, let me show you the dress. So this is the dress here. Look at these lovely huge sleeves, gathers, and the gathers just aren't at the top. It goes right around the front and the back as well, which is lovely. It has gathers at the hem, but a sleeve cuff as well, which is really, really nice. It's a bit more polished, I think, with the sleeve cuff. Bias binding at the neckline. It's got a, what is this called, a button placket, and then all I did was I cut it off at the bottom, and then I added a gathered skirt which was about 80 centimeters width, 80 centimeters long, sorry, and the width of the fabric for a really nice gather. You can see lots of gathers there, and then I just added pockets myself. These are the Tilly and the Buttons pockets from the Lyra dress or the Indigo dress. And I love the Tilly and the Buttons pockets. I use that in all my patterns. Even if the pattern has its own pockets, I just put the Tilly and the Buttons pockets in there because I love the depth of it, the size of it, and I love the instructions as well, especially when they tell you to... so they tell you to overlock all the pocket pieces first before you attach it, which is, I think, a really good idea, because once you've attached the pockets, it's quite hard then to overlock around it. Also, it tells you to understitch the seam allowance to the pocket on the reverse, and that prevents the pocket from peeking out, which is a great idea as well, and I use that all the time. And so yeah, I use that more often now. I'll pop up a picture of myself wearing it. And in fact, I actually wore this out for was it my birthday dinner? It was my birthday dinner date with my husband. We went out to our local restaurant, and I'll pop up some pictures as well of that. And the lovely thing about this dress, it's almost like a buffet dress, what they had in the Great British Sewing Bee. It's very loose and flowy and just amazingly comfortable to wear. And so I do actually like it when it's flowy and out. But then when I did wear it, I wore it with a belt. But then throughout the meal, whilst I was eating, I took the belt off, and so I came home with a totally different dress because it just has a totally different look with a belt on or without a belt. Totally different look, which again is really great with garments that you can change the look of by changing the accessories. Also, the other thing that I've noticed is how I've cut it. It was unintentional, but I've cut the bodice sort of at an angle, so it kind of is higher at this end and it goes down this way. But I actually like that effect. I think it just adds a tiny bit of interest, a tiny bit of detail. And hopefully if I was to make it again, which I do have plans to make this again in the summertime, I will try and copy sort of that arched waistline there. So that's that one. I really, really love this. This fabric is a linen, 100% linen actually, from Jenny Stitches Fabrics. And when I tried to buy the more fabric, they were out of stock because I needed more fabric for the skirt. But I ended up finding the exact same colour and exact same fabric from Pound Fabric, so I was able to put the two together and it didn't even look like it come from different shops. So that's that one. Bear with me, just gonna get a drink. The next so I've done that one, the next few garments that I have made I use the Tilly and the Buttons Indigo pattern, which is this one here. Sorry, bear with me. Forgot to tell you about the measurements. The Anna Allen measurements are... So this is a very loose, flowy top. So there's a lot of ease. And the measurements go from a size 00, which is a bust of 31, waist of 24, all the way up to a size 22, which is a bust of 48, waist of 41. Now I size down by 2 sizes in this pattern because there is a lot of ease. And if you do look on, I had lots of friends that had made these, so I asked them as well how much they downsized by, and it was similar, either 1 or 2, and I thought that was a perfect fit, having sized down twice, because as I say, there is a lot of ease in this pattern. So if you wanted a more fitted one, I guess size down another one, or if you quite like it loose, then maybe just size down by 1 size. And it also has finished garment measurements, which is great because then you can look at the body measurements and the finished garment measurements and try and figure out what size would suit you the best. So going back to the Tilly and the Buttons Indigo pattern, it is this one here. Very, very popular. Now, when this came out, I wasn't interested in it at all. Unfortunately, the picture that they've used there, that's Romana from the British Sewing Bee, doesn't really inspire me at all. I mean, it's a smock top. It's just not my style at all. Even at the back there, you've got Paige Joanna as well in a smock version, in the dress version. And again, wasn't really inspiring. However, over the months or over the years now that this has been released, I have been seeing lots and lots of different versions from lots of lovely people on Instagram. And they just look really, really nice. So much so that I have made so many. So I made 1, 2, 3, 4... I made 5 this month, and I've made another one previously as well, last month. And I think the major thing that makes a difference is adding the waist ties, because without the waist ties, it is like a smock dress with no shape. Although now and again, I mean, I quite like that look, as I've said previously, with the Anna Allen blouse dress. But with the waist ties on this, I think it just adds a bit of shape and it just looks really, really lovely. Again, and it's another dress that you can hack in so many different ways, which is really, really nice. And also I bought the extension pack for this. Let me just show you the line drawings. So you have, it's essentially a smock top. You've got bust dart, a round neckline, sort of elbow length sleeves with a, is it called a frill? A frill at the sleeves, high-low hem for the top, and then here you've got the, just a gathered skirt again. So this goes from a size UK 6, bust of 30, waist of 24, up to a UK 24, bust of 48, waist of 42. As I say again, there is an extended size range that goes up to a 32 for the Tilly and the Buttons patterns. And they've also released an extension pack, which I've bought. And the extension pack, I'll just show you on here. The extension pack comes with an extra frill that you can add at the bottom. It comes with short puff sleeves, and it comes with also a bishop sleeve as well with an elasticated cuff, which is really, really great. So the versions that I have made, oh, I'll show you this one first, actually. This version here is it's made up of a beautiful Liberty fabric, so Liberty Cotton Tana Lawn, from, what's the pattern called? It's the Poppy and Daisy print, and it's sort of, this particular print comes in a couple of colorways. This is sort of the yellowy pinky version, and I have made a straight size 5. So you've got a round neckline there, you've got bust darts here, waist, you've got the tier, and I've also added a bottom tier at the bottom there. So these sleeves are a hack. These are the sleeves from the Stylark Bell dress, which I love. So it's just basically a poofy, almost bishop style sleeve, elasticated cuff, but it ends just below your, what is this part called? Your forearm. So just below your elbow, it ends sort of there. And I'll pop up some photos of myself wearing it. And I really, really love the dress. I think the fabric obviously elevates it. It is a very simple dress. I think the sleeves elevates it and the fabric elevates it. And so this particular dress, this Indigo, has no fastenings or anything. So it's just the facing, and you just pull it over your head. And that's why it needs to be quite loose. Otherwise, you won't be able to get it on. And I've got the waist ties as well at the back here. So that's that one. That is beautiful. And I love that dress. And the second one that I made is this one here. So this is one for my daughter. This is made up in a hydrangea print from sorry, it's a bit creased, hydrangea print from Rifle Paper Company, which I bought from Lush Cloth. This is the facing, you can see there, and I've got a little tag, a label that says I made this for you. And I use the extension pack again for the short puff sleeves. Again, this has the waist ties, which I self-drafted, and it's got the bottom tier as well at the bottom. And I'll pop up a photo of my daughter wearing that as well. The next version I made is the same, exactly the same as the previous one, but this is made in a sage green gingham from Minerva Fabrics. Again, the short puff sleeves, the waist ties, and I've got the bottom tier at the bottom as well. Or this pattern also has pockets, which is really great. Pockets, and this time round I've got a lovely label. This is actually from Paige Joanna, part of my So Hayley Jane box haberdashery gift. And the only thing different I did with this was that you can see the bodice is cut on the bias, and I just think it adds just a tiny bit of detail where the gingham goes the other way. And I'll pop up a photo. The next one I made is the same as the Liberty version in terms of the sleeves. So again, this is the Stylark Bell sleeves. How lovely is that? The colours in this is beautiful. This is the Midnight Rosette print from Lady McElroy, and this is in a different base. It's a linen chambray. I know they also do this print in the scuba and a viscose chalet, but this is the linen chambray. Exactly the same as this version here, with the bottom tier, the waist ties, and those lovely sleeves. And this tag I've put there says perfectly imperfect, and I'll pop up a photo of myself wearing that one. And then the last Indigo that I made is this one right here, exactly the same again as the previous two. The Stylark Bell sleeves, elasticated cuffs, waist ties, and the bottom tier. This label here says handmade, and this is a beautiful quilting cotton from Liberty Fabrics. This is called Flower Cosmos, I think, and this was part gifted to me by Mimi and B, Dawn from Mimi and B. I did an interview with her, and to say thank you, she gave me some gift vouchers for her shop, which was lovely. And I bought this beautiful quilting cotton from her. And I didn't realize, so I know with most designer fabric most designer fabric companies, the high-end ones are on a narrower width, especially if they're printed in Japan, like Nani Iro. I believe Rifle Paper Company is on a narrower width, and Liberty Fabrics are on a narrower width. That applies to the quilting cotton, but with the Tana lawn, that's actually 140 centimeters. This is 112, I believe, and that's 140. And I didn't realize that at the time, which is great. So quilting cotton is obviously cheaper than the Tana lawn. I think this rate retails at around 13 to 15 pounds a meter. Tana lawn is about 25 pounds a meter. So you need more of this, but this is cheaper to make the same dress, and less of this, but it's more expensive. So I guess it kind of balances out. But I did make a note on my notes just to say, if I wanted to make this dress again with these sleeves, that I would need 3.5 of the quilting, or 3 for the Tana lawn. So that's that one, and I'll pop up some photos. And I'll just have a look at my notes to see what I've done for the indigo. So as I just, so with the indigo, as you can see, I've made them from a variety of fabrics. This is a cotton, this is a lawn, cotton lawn, just 100% cotton gingham. This is a linen chambray. This is a quilting cotton, and that's a cotton lawn. So you get different effects with the quilting cotton. As you can see, that the sleeves are a bit more pronounced because the fabric is a bit more heavier, and then with the cotton lawn, it's a bit more of a softer look. So it's quite nice to see how different fabrics can result in different looks for the same pattern. Sorry, I'm just looking through my project book. Okay, so Tilly and the Buttons indigo. So with regards to the waist ties, I just draft them myself. I do like a 2-inch width by 36-inch length times 2, and that's the length of the waist ties that I use. And I attach them 5/8 from the bottom of the bodice so it doesn't get caught in the seam allowance. And for these skinny ties, I use my Prim turners. Is that what they're called? I'll pop them over here, sorry. So these are the Prim turning set. And basically you get different versions, different thicknesses. So you get that one for thicker, so it's just a tube and a stick basically. Then you get the middle size, and then you get the skinny size for the skinny straps. And these are very, very good, so much so that I actually do like making ties now because they're so easy and they're so satisfying to pull out using these tools. So I totally recommend this set. I think it's $7.99. I know Prim did have a previous set where it was just like almost like a skewer, like a metal skewer with a ring and a little hook at the end. And the idea being is you're supposed to put it through, hook the end, and then pull it through. But mine sort of broke after about 6 months or so. So I wouldn't recommend that. But this set here is very good. Let me just put this away. What else? Yeah, so what I found with the sleeves here, I normally with these elasticated cuffs, you would measure wherever wherever you want it to rest. So measure that circumference and cut your elastic to that measurement with an inch seam allowance. But what I found, because it was quite low here, sometimes it would ride up and ride down. So what I've done is I've added an extra inch, so it kind of sits on my forearm in quite a relaxed manner, so it moves up and down rather than staying. And I don't like the fact when elasticated cuffs are like stuck to your arm and then you get like a mark because the elastic is too tight. So for me personally, I do the circumference of my arm, whichever part it's supposed to rest at, plus an inch seam allowance, plus another inch free. So that's what I do. And also my other tip for making this is the bottom tier. Before I attach it to the main skirt, I hem that part already because I find it's easier to overlock and hem on the straight rather than, turning it around with it attached to the rest of the dress. So that's the only other thing that I do. And one last thing as well for me. So I find that with this particular green dress, I found that my bust was struggling just a tiny bit, and I really didn't want to cut out a new pattern or anything. So what I decided to do was keep the size 5, but for the bodice alone I used a 3/8 seam allowance, and then for the rest of the dress I stayed with the 5/8 seam allowance, which is the standard seam allowance. And I found that gave me just that bit of extra ease, and so that my bust wasn't struggling under it. So that's that one. Following on nicely, the next pattern that I made was a little dress for my 16-month-old daughter. I went for, did I post photos? I'll post photos of that dress, sorry, the previous one. So a dress for my daughter. I went for the Children's Corner Patterns Ruthie. And this goes from a size 6 months to an 8-year-old size, so that's really good. I went for this long sleeve version, but you can see that the bodice sort of ends here. It's sort of vintage style. I just extended the bodice myself and everything else was the same. I love the Peter Pan collar here. I love the gathered sleeve heads and the elasticated cuff. I'll show you the line drawings. So you've got short sleeve, long sleeve, elasticated cuff. You've got a bodice with gathered skirt all the way around, button placket all the way at the bottom, and then you've got gathered sleeve heads, which is really nice. The bodice is lined, and as I say, 6 months to 8 years old, so you get a lot for your money in terms of that pattern. And I'll show you the dress here. Ta-da! It's in the matching Flower Cosmos Liberty fabric of my Indigo, and I've used a white cotton for this collar here. So it's gathered all the way around. I've got little tiny buttons. And it's a really lovely sweet dress. I'll post up some photos of her. I mean, toddlers are very difficult to take photographs of, so these are the best ones that I have. I'll post them up here. Now, I've never made any patterns. I've never made these patterns before, any of them before, and my only thing that I would do next time is make the arms longer, because I compared this to her other dresses, long sleeve dresses from Next, and they were a good inch longer, so it just had a bit more kind of what's it called, billowiness, which is quite nice. And also, again, with the elastic, I will copy what I do for myself. I will add probably not an inch because she's a baby, but an extra ½ inch of ease on the elastic, because it does tend to mark her wrists a bit. And then the other thing, which I was a bit, I don't really know if anybody can advise me. So I have, this has been newly washed, and it was in my ironing pile. And then I went to iron it, and you can see that the collar is stained. So now I don't know how I'm supposed to wash this, because the main bodice, the main dress is bright and colourful. Do I use colour detergent, or do I mean, obviously I can't use bleach or any whitening detergent just for the collar, because that may stain, it may decrease the brightness of the colour of the dress. So I'm not really sure what I should do to get that collar white and clean by itself without damaging the rest of the dress. If anybody has any tips. I mean, I do use Nappy San, which is that, it's like a whitening powder that you use for babies, reusable nappies, actually, to get those bright white, and it's really good. I don't use reusable nappies, but I use them just for brightening baby whites. But I thought if I put this in that, I don't know whether the color of the main fabric will fade, so I'm not quite sure. I mean, even if you were to sort of just soak that bit, I have tried that in the past with another item, and basically the water just soaks into the whole dress anyway, so that wouldn't be an idea. But just to, if anybody knows of any way to clean their collars or get their collars nice and bright and white, but the rest of the dress still bright as well. So that's that dress there. I think I will make this dress again, but actually, I probably won't make this dress again. I have another pattern called the Be Curious pattern by Ellie and Mac, and it's a similar dress in the sense that, well, actually, it's not a similar dress. It's basically just like a round neck, bodice, gathered skirt, and then you've got buttons at the back, and it's got the same sleeves. So I think it's still, you know, gives the lovely effect, but it's less work because you don't have to do all of these buttons and the button placket. So I might stick to that just for some dresses for my daughter. And also I have found some lovely lace collars that you can buy off Etsy, so I might give that a go and see if they will work nicely for baby dresses. So that's that one. What else is next? Oh, and then the next dress I made was the Elodie dress, or Elodie wrap dress from Closet Core Patterns. Here it is here. So it's a lovely wrap dress, and the difference about this wrap dress is that it's got these sort of grown on, I would say, kimono style sleeves. Let me show you the line drawings. So the variations are basically just no grown on sleeves. So that's a short sleeve version. Then when I say long sleeve, it's sort of a like elbow length, and it's like an extended grown on sleeve. It's a full wrap dress, and it's got pockets. The skirts are paneled, so you get 2 panels for the front part of the skirt, and 2 panels for the back. And there's also a center back seam there with pin tucks at the front and at the back. So this pattern goes from a size 0, which is a bust of 31, waist of 24, all the way up to a size 20, which is a bust of 46, waist of 39 inches. I went for the size 12, I believe. And to be fair, I should have been a 14. But again, what I decided to do, instead of cutting out a 14, I just cut out the 12 and I used a smaller seam allowance, 3/8 seam allowance rather than the 5/8. And I found that gave me enough ease for it to fit perfectly. And I was making, when I was making this dress, I actually didn't like making it one bit. It's like I was just begrudgingly going through the motions because I'd already cut out the pattern. I'd already got everything ready. And I just thought, you know what, let me just do it. But I really didn't like doing this. I mean, it was all, I don't know, it was all in my head because the instructions are very, very straightforward. The dress is very easy to make. I think what got me was they telling you that, you know, they tell you to stay stitch. I believe it's all the pieces. Let me double check. It tells you, yes it does, it tells you to stay stitch all the skirt pieces. So that's 1 2 3 4, all the skirt pieces, and then the bodice pieces as well. And for me, it felt like a waste of time because obviously you're not creating seams, you're just stay stitching. But in hindsight, I guess there's a reason for that, is so that the fabric doesn't stretch out and all your pieces come together nicely, which they did come together nicely, which was great. The pin tucks, there are pin tucks at the front and at the back, which give you a bit of shape at the bust, which is really nice. And it's a full wrap, as I say. The only thing, having said that the instructions are very good, I mean, I'll show you the instructions, you know, lovely digital drawings there. The only thing I found was when I was doing the, oh, let me show you the dress, sorry. This is the Elodie wrap dress that I've made here. And that's the lovely kimono sleeve there. And this is in a linen mix from Pound Fabrics. It's just a white linen with sort of blue roses on it. And it's got a facing all the way around the front of the bodice, all the way around the neckline. There's your center back seam there. And these are the pleats. I don't know if you can see the pleats. The pleats at the front of the dress there. So the only thing that I found, I wouldn't say difficult, it's just I couldn't find the instructions for them, was making the hole where the tie goes through when you wrap the dress. For the life of me, I couldn't find it in the pattern. So I'm going through the pattern, and then it says something along the lines of, now, you know, insert your tie through the hole that you've made in the waistband. And I thought, I haven't made that hole yet. So I went through the instructions again and I couldn't find it. And I just thought, well, that's really odd. But I'm sure it must just be me. I must just have been, you know, really tired making it that evening. So I just made the hole myself. Basically, where the waist, the side seam of the waist tie, I just seam ripped that on both sides and then edge stitched it around. And then I've made the hole for the tie. And yeah, no, I really, really like it. I think I did, no, I shortened. So I didn't like the short length. It was too short. And then the longer length was too long. So I sort of went in between to get a midi length, and I'll post up some photos. I really, really like it. I think it's a lovely, simple dress. It would work with lots of different fabrics. I love the sleeves. I love the kimono style sleeves. And it's just a lovely dress all in all. And I'm very happy that I made it in the end because I really wasn't enjoying it, as I say. Let me see if I've got any more notes for that one. And Elodie, bear with me. Elodie, or Elodie. Yeah, no notes. That was all just that I said that I couldn't figure out how to do the waist tie hole. which I figured out in the end myself, but that wasn't too much of a problem. And that was that dress there. The last dress that I made was the I am an ambassador, brand ambassador for Little Miss So-and-so, and once a month I get their all set to sew kits, their So Luxurious kit, and that includes your normal, you know, your pattern, your fabric, all the notions needed for your make. And this particular subscription box is quite nice in the sense that every month you get a choice between a woven fabric and a knit woven pattern and a knit pattern, and then once you've chosen your pattern, you then get a choice of all their luxurious knit fabrics or all their luxurious woven fabrics. And when I say luxurious, it's Art Gallery, Lady McElroy, Atelier Brunette, Dashwood Studios, that sort of thing, which is really, really lovely. And you get a free gift as well. And that's all for £65, including postage and packaging, which is really, really fab. Last month, I chose the Natasha Tear dress by Liberty Fabrics. How beautiful is that dress there? And as most of you may know already, Liberty Fabrics, these patterns aren't their own as such. I've now found out that they have a licensing agreement with McCall's, and they just use McCall's patterns and they repackage it as their own, which is kind of cheeky because Liberty Fabrics patterns, I believe, are about £3 or £4 more expensive than McCall's, maybe even £5 more expensive than McCall's. So I think it's quite cheeky that they have done that, although I assume legally it's all okay. But also I think because Liberty Fabrics are such an institution, they are known for designer, high quality, you know, expensive, high-end fabrics. I would have thought they could afford to hire their own designers, pattern designers, and make their own. And I think that would really, you know, people would buy it. I mean, people buy Liberty Fabrics for like £30-35 a meter, depending on the base. And so I think if they had their own designs, it would definitely sell. So I'm not quite sure why they decided to go the route of licensing from another company. But anyhow, so this is the dress here. I'll show you the line drawings. So you have variations are the skirt. You can either choose between a pleated skirt or a tiered skirt, and then you can go sleeveless or with sleeves. The sleeves can either have ruffles as well, and you can also have ruffles at the in between the tiers there. It's a crew neck with a keyhole button fastening at the end. Now, the problem that I have with this is, well, first and foremost, the back of the envelope is where people normally look at to see whether or not they're going to buy the pattern, because you'll look for the measurements. Now, it has body measurements, but they're only in centimeters, which is annoying. But I have done some calculations. So it starts from a size 6, which is a bust of 30, waist of 22, all the way up to a size 22 with a bust of 44, waist of 37. Now, looking at these body measurements here, I fall into a size 14, which is like a 36-inch bust and about, well, the waist is really off anyway. I would fall into the size 14. So I decided to go for this larger size. So they come in 2 bands. This is 14 to 22, and then you get presumably the 0 to 12. And just looking at the bust measurement, the body measurements, which is what you would do if you were buying the pattern, I decided that I needed this larger size range. So I was going to cut out the size 14 straight away, but then my friend Adele, Sofa Serenity, who's also a brand ambassador for Little Miss So-and-so, had made hers already in the size 14, and her bust is slightly smaller than my bust, and her dress, looking at her vlog, fitted her perfectly in the bust. It wasn't struggling, it wasn't too loose, and I thought, well, hang on a second, if her bust is smaller than mine and that's a perfect fit on her, I will have to go up a size. So I went up to a size 16, and it was terrible. It was a horrible mistake, because when I made up the dress, it was huge. I had the problem with the shoulder. It was a good inch drooping off my shoulder. The sleeve was drooping off my shoulder by a whole inch. The waist, I took the waist in by 2 inches on each side. That was 4 inches. And it's still quite loose and billowy. When I show you the photos, I'll show you the photos. I mean, it is a lovely dress, but if you can see in one of the photos here, the side where I've tied it, there's quite a lot of excess fabric on the side, and that's just the extra ease in the pattern itself. So I went ahead and made it anyway. I made the I made this version here, but the sleeves, I decided to hack it and use the sleeves for the Anthea Blouse from Mood Fabrics, which is a free pattern online on moodfabrics.com, because I love the gathered sleeves, the billowness, and also it comes with a cuff, which is really nice. And then I decided to add a ruffle at the neckline as well, which I got from the Tilly and the Buttons Marnie pattern. I've got the Marnie here, so this is the Marnie pattern, and I just used the ruffle piece for the neckline there. I'll show you the dress here. So, I mean, it is beautiful. Sorry, this doesn't seem to be standing up when it's not on the... It's a beautiful... I chose a beautiful Atelier Brunette viscose twill in their ochre twig print. And you can just see the viscose texture there. Not the viscose, the twill texture there. So the Anthea Blouse sleeves, as I say, beautiful gathers at the sleeve head, quite billowy. And then it comes with a cuff that doesn't have any fitted buttons or anything, so it's the perfect circumference for you to put your wrist in nicely without any fixtures and fittings. Fixtures and fittings, that sounds like a house, without any buttons or anything, which is really, really great. This is the ruffle that I use from the Tilly and the Buttons Marnie, and then everything else is the same. I've got the pockets in here as well, and then it doesn't come with a waist tie, so I added the waist tie as I do normally with my Indigo. And then the back of the dress is a keyhole with a button there. For this loop, I use the Tilly and the Buttons. They show you how to do belt loops, so it's almost like crocheting thread together to make a belt loop for that. And that's the keyhole there. So as I say, the dress was really, really big. So despite those adjustments, as I say, it's still quite a loose fit. And I was looking at the... so what I ended up doing, unfortunately, is I had to take off the whole sleeve, so take off the overlocking stitches and the normal stitches, take it all off, reduce the arm side here of the bodice, reduce this by a good inch all the way, and then reattach the sleeves. See, the unpicking took me at least 30 minutes, maybe even 45, to unpick the sleeves and reattach them. But I'm glad that I did, because I wouldn't have worn the dress otherwise. So that's that. And then when I was looking at the pattern piece itself, because I thought, hang on a second, how is this pattern so big? I don't really know why. And I looked at the pattern piece, and here is the pattern. Is this the back or the front? This is the bodice back. So I looked at this pattern piece here, and I don't even have my other piece to hand. Do I have it to hand? Bear with me. No, I don't have the other piece. So I put my Tilly and the Buttons Indigo pattern piece on top, and the difference was actually, it was quite evident. So the Tilly and the Buttons bodice piece ended here, so a good inch away from this pattern piece, and that makes sense because the shoulder, the sleeve, when I wore it, was a good inch drooping off my shoulder. So I'm thinking it's just drafted poorly, in my opinion anyway. And then one of my viewers below commented that because I'd made such a big size, the size 16, that maybe that's why everything was super, super large and too big for me. So I thought, you know what, fair enough, that's a good point. But if you look at, so this is the size 16 that I've cut out here. This is the size 14. So the difference between a 16 and a 14 is 3/4 of a centimetre there. On the arm side, it's maybe half a centimetre there. So even if I went to the smallest sizes at a 14, which is what I was originally going to do according to my measurements, it still would have been super, super big. Even on the waist there, that's what, just an inch and a half maybe. That still wouldn't have made it fit me. As I say, I took in 4 inches altogether in the side seams. And then even if I had gone for the smaller size, so say like a 10 or a 12, I'm assuming a 12 would be sort of a centimetre below there, and a 10 would be another centimetre below there. Likewise here, I think it still would have been a bit big. And also, having said that, I wouldn't have known, looking at this envelope, that I would have needed a smaller size, because obviously I'm only basing my decision on these body measurements. So that's a shame. They do have finished garment measurements at the back, but it's only for the length, which is really silly, because the length is the thing that most people adjust anyway, because everybody's different heights. And another viewer told me that they actually do have body measurements, finished body measurements on the pattern pieces. So say over here, A size 14 would have a 40.5-inch bust. A size 16 would have a 42.5-inch bust, which is great, but you would only know that if you were to buy the pattern, open it, and look at that yourself. So I think they really need to have the finished measurements on the back of this pattern, which is anyway, I'm hoping that it won't totally put me off Liberty fabrics, because there is another pattern that I have seen that I would like to try. Although having said that, now I might try and find the McCall's alternative to it, because it would be the cheaper version of it. The only other thing that I had issues with is that the keyhole back, I'll show you the keyhole back here. This bit here doesn't seem to lie flat for me, which is really annoying. And I'll show you how they've done it. So this is the back bodice piece. Obviously, this is cut on a fold, so you'd have the other half here. And then you have a facing part, which is this part here. Again, that's cut on a fold, so that would go here. So just imagine there's the other half here. You've got stitch lines down here, so you stitch down that way and down that way to create a V, and then you cut all the way down to the just before the pivot line, and then you're supposed to fold that over in on itself, which is great. It worked fine for the sides, but where it at the corner there, at the bottom corner, it just wouldn't go in. So I don't know if anybody has any tips for that. I might have to do a tutorial, look at a tutorial for that keyhole, making that keyhole area flat for the next time I do a pattern with a keyhole. I probably won't, well, I will not be trying this pattern again, because I think it is a very simple pattern, and again, it doesn't have any bust darts. I would probably use the Tilly and the Buttons Indigo for this and hack that you know, with, you know, sleeves and ruffles and whatnot. But at the end of the day, this pattern was a challenge because of all the adjustments that I had to make, but I think I overcame that, and it resulted in a wearable garment that I still like, but I will not be trying the pattern again. So that's that one there. And I think that's it. I have done everything. So all in all, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually 9, because the Sew Over Eve was made in the August. So technically it's 8.5, because this Anna Allen was already half made. I just added a skirt to it. And so that's all the things that I have made for the month of September. I hope you enjoyed that. Any comments, please do ask me below. And please do kindly like and subscribe if you don't already. And I hopefully will see you next time. I have a plans vlog coming out for the month of October. So please look forward. I hope you look forward to that. Also, I am attending the Knitting and Stitching show in Alexandra Palace on Friday, where I will be meeting Sew for Serenity Adele and Claire from Stitch Hem Sew. We've never met before, so this will be our first time meeting up. And I've never been to an exhibition before either, so that will be my first time. It'll be lovely just to look around the stalls and things and maybe buy some fabric, but we're trying not to buy too much because Christmas is coming up. Cost of living is going up, obviously. It has gone up, so we are trying to be sensible. But yes, hopefully you liked that vlog, and I will hopefully see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.